Hello everyone, today I'll be doing a solo Nightfall master run, the Disgrace with Hunter. For my subclass, I'll be using bottom tree, Night Stalker with Gambler's Dodge. For the exotic, I'll be using the famous Cryosthesia 77k with no catalyst, which I'll be talking about that very soon in my video. Next, I'll be using the Solar Scout Rifle with Genesis. For the heavy, I'll be using the 7 Soul Arc Machine Gun. Exotic helmet, I'll be using the 4 Tracer with 10 Intellect. Machine Gun Ammo Finder, Scout Rifle Ammo Finder with Shield Break Charge. Gauntlets, I'll be using the Anti-Barrier Scout Rifle, Unstoppable Sidearm, Rage of the Warmind with 10 Disciplined. Next, I'll be using double arc damage resistance, 10 recovery with high energy fire. 40 legs, I'll be using double machine gun scavenger with 10 intellect and global rate. Lastly, I'll be using Sunderling Blast, bomber, and 10 intellect and Wrath of the Rasputin. The Cryosthesia, one of the best sidearm stasis weapons in the entire game, where you can just shoot enemies and freeze them and then have to reload every time you freeze an enemy. It's one of the best weapons in the entire game. Okay, I'm really sorry guys. I was controlled by this bungee hat I was wearing. I had to take it off. So, as you guys know, I'll be using the Cryosthesia sidearm stasis, and I don't have the catalyst, and I will tell you why I don't have it. But as you guys know, there are 2 barrier champions, 2 servitors, and they are a bit RNG. They will go your way and be your best friend, or they're gonna kick you in the doodles, and the Shanks and the Vandals are gonna give you a hard time because these barrier servitors love to immune everything. So you can see here I was trying to freeze the barrier servitors so I can just clear down the ads, but plan B was to just melt them down as fast as I can. Even though I'm using double primary weapons, I have to use my arc machine gun and then take him down as much as I can. Now, also I like to mention that these servitors sometimes like to protect themselves, so here I was just being reckless. And I just wanted to get this run done, especially with this loadout. It was a bit awkward, to be honest. Now, I am using the Sunderling Blast, since I'm not using any grenade launcher. And I do want to take down the servitor, and you can see I am being extremely reckless because honestly I despise these barriers, especially when using double primary weapons, and these barrier servitors can just not go your way and they can move around, especially if you don't melt them really fast. So if the servitors are giving you a hard time, I would recommend to start all over again, because these servitors are going to move around, there'll be more ads spawning, it's going to be a headache. Now, as you can see here, I am just using the power of the Warmind cells to clear down as much ads as I can. So yeah, Warmind cells. I'll definitely going to be using Warmind cells for this video because using the stasis, the Cryosthesia, isn't that strong as I want it to be. I will be using the sidearm much more at the boss fight, but I do want to get the 100k. And I was just trying to rush a little bit, just browsing around, just trying to see if I could find more Warmind cells, but I missed. And I lost one Warmind cell, unfortunately it desponded. Now I'm just using the Cryosthesia, and when you do kill one ad, you can have this unique liquid cooling attack. Well, pretty much you can freeze the enemies, but then it takes all your ammo and you have to reload, and you can't really use the sidearm reload because you need the barrier, anti-barrier mod for your gauntlets. So basically for your gauntlets, you have to use the Unstoppable Sidearm for the Cryosthesia and the anti-barrier for Scout Rifle for your gauntlets. So there's really no room to reload your sidearm unless you're using double throw-in. It already has an unstoppable perk where Cryosthesia doesn't have it. Isn't that amazing? So now I'm just browsing around because I just want to get this run done. Just trying to clear a couple of ads. There is the last barrier champion, and I want to throw a nade, take him down, and then we can proceed to the next area. So once I take down the barrier champion, we'll be moving on to the next area, as you can see here. And we're going to be using the Cryosthesia once I use my super. So I decided to go for the bottom tree. Reasons why is because the boss is very tanky, extremely tanky, and I would advise to use a very strong super for the boss fight because the boss is very tanky, and I am using a high energy fire build with the Warmind cell build as well. So you have to be very careful of what loadouts you're using. The loadout I'm using is just to challenge myself and just see how the Cryosthesia sidearm is going to do, but so far the sidearm, the Cryosthesia, isn't that good. You have to reload, especially when you're using the special attack where you can freeze enemies, but it goes to 0 and you have to reload your weapon. And of course with the catalyst, with the cool deficiency where shattering a frozen target refills the magazine from reserves. Yes, when you do get the catalyst, when you do take down, well, shattered any frozen targets, it will reserve your ammo. But you still have to reload your sidearm. So even if you do get the catalyst, you have to reload it. And I know someone's gonna say, well, Blitz, you can use subclass stasis. Yes, I understand that, but I feel like the Cryosthesia's Warmind, well, the Cryosthesia's sidearm is efficient with the stasis subclass. Now you're probably wondering why I'm not using the subclass for Hunter. Because the boss fight is so tanky, and for some reason using stasis DPS at the boss has no effect, is ineffective. It's like Pokemon where you try to use an element and it doesn't really do high damage, and stasis is ineffective for this Nightfall. And yes, I am talking about Pokemon, isn't this hilarious? So as you saw there are a couple of solar wizards and barrier champion as we destroyed from far away with using a scout rifle. Now I am trying to use the Cryosthesia sidearm, and you can see here that I missed my shot. I'm trying to take it down with the sidearm, and it wasn't working out. And another thing I'd like to mention is the range is poor. I don't know how is it on PC, but the range for the Cryosthesia sidearm is really, it's not really good for console. It's awkward. It doesn't feel like, it feels like the range is very short when trying to shoot from far away. I think the Devil's Throw-In does a better job than this weapon, and I'm just being super honest. I would prefer the Devil's Throw-In over Cryosthesia sidearm, especially if you don't have the catalyst. It still wouldn't really matter at all unless you're stasis subclass. It will clear down ads with your sidearm, will refill the magazine, but that's about it. That's the only thing that the catalyst can do. Now I am just clearing down the ads as much as I can, and there will be 2 streakers and 2 barrier champions from the back. You can actually use the scout rifle to take him down. You don't really need to go up close since we are not using Will of the Horde. So as you can see here, we're gonna take down the shriekers, then take down the 2 barrier champions from far distance. They are super harmless, especially when you are using a scout rifle. You can just shoot them from far away. They're super easy to deal with, even in GM, especially when using a scout rifle. So as I say that the Cryosthesia it has potential, but honestly, I did not have a good time using this weapon. I did not have fun at all. I thought this weapon would be good. I actually thought the liquid mod, the perk, I thought when doing rapid hit, it will activate. But no, you have to actually destroy an ad or any enemy for it to freeze. And like I said, when you do freeze an enemy, then you're back to 0 and you have to reload. And it's pretty slow. So you will need to use a sidearm reload or marksman's dodge for hunter. And it could be a bit frustrating, especially when you're trying to do DPS with the sidearm. It just doesn't really work out. Now I'm going to be taking down this other barrier champion from the right side. So like I said, guys, you can use a scout rifle. And I am using the solar scout rifle, the Genesis, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't work. There's this mini bug where when you do break the shield, right, it doesn't refill your magazine. So just be aware that sometimes it doesn't work. So I would say 95%. And then that 5% or 10%, it doesn't refill your magazine. So be aware of that. And I made a war mine cell, destroy it just to clear them down. And now there'll be 2 barrier champions, which I despise. But first things first, make sure you take down all the acolytes. They love to play hide and seek. And make sure you take down the Arc Knight, because the Arc Knight is the biggest threat than the barrier champions, because this guy can shoot far away than the barrier champions. Not even joking, that gold bar Arc Knight is very dangerous. Now the one thing I like about this double barrier champions is sometimes they like to protect themselves. So it's always best to melt the first champion as fast as you can. You can see here it's being a little reckless. And what I should have done here is stagger the barrier champion and then use my super. So make sure you stagger the first champion and then use your super. I was thinking of using my super and using the barrier champion, well, the barrier scout rifle in between, and then use my super once it's staggered. But it didn't really work out too well, so I would prefer to just stagger the barrier champion, then use my super. And you can see here, I am using the scout rifle. I got the refill from my ammo, and I'm trying to use the Cryosthesia. And then I forgot that I need to reload it. And so far so good, everything is going well. Now we can actually proceed to the next level, but I was just scouting for ammo since my heavy was low. And now guess what, we're gonna actually go to the boss fight. Yep, we're gonna go to the boss fight very soon. And Jesus Christ, this is gonna be so much fun, especially using this sidearm. And like I said, I'll be using the sidearm so much at the boss fight. Now there are 2 barrier servitors and they are very annoying, especially with console with the aim assist. Aim assist can sometimes kick you in the doodles, so just be aware, especially for console, to be careful when clearing down these barrier champions. Now over here I want to take down the barrier servitor. You can also stagger the barrier champion and then clear down the ads with the arc machine gun or rocket, etc. But for me, I just want to get this barrier champion destroyed because we want to go to the boss fight and have as much time as we can, especially with double primary, and plus the sidearm is not really that strong. And just let everyone know, I'm using high energy fire, 20% damage, and of course 4 tracer exotic helmet for the hunter to do some percent of damage, especially on low on health. So yeah, this is fantastic. I was trying to see if I can get some heavy, but there was no heavy, unfortunately. So I decided to just proceed to the boss fight. So yeah, to get the catalyst for the Cryosthesia, you have to defeat 50 guardians and no assist, no killing guardians assist, damage assist. You actually have to kill the guardians with the actual sidearm, which is very frustrating, especially for players who are not into PvP. Then you're gonna spend 5 hours of your life dealing with 50 guardians. So as you can see here, we're gonna go to the boss fight. Boss is very tanky, so I'm gonna be using my super right away. So I'm gonna break the shield, throw a nade, and then try my best to deal with this boss. Once I do a decent amount of damage, I decided to go back because there's gonna be 2 barrier champions. Yay. And I decided to use the sidearm, the stasis sidearm. And now I'm just gonna call it the stasis sidearm or the Cryosthesia, just to make it short. So, as you can see here, when you do kill any ad, you get this perk where you can freeze enemies, but you have to reload, by the way. Reload to do DPS at the nights. So yeah, that's basically what this unique, quote unquote, unique exotic sidearm can do. Then the Devil's Ruin, then Rat King. Yeah, you guys already know this weapon's really bad. I'm trying really hard to not say really mean things about this stasis sidearm, but as you guys know, this sidearm isn't really that strong, and I'm trying to use stasis weapon, but it wasn't working out. Like I said, the sidearm range is so bad. You can see here, I'm gonna try again, but then I had to reload, you know, because of that special attack that I had to use for the sidearm, and it can be very frustrating. So you can see here, I'm trying to use the stasis. By the way, I'm trying, but then I had to switch to my sky rifle. And now the mini boss left, which I was happy. There'll be 2 solar wizards, 1 unstoppable champion from the left side, and 1 barrier at the top cliff, which you will have to be super careful because sometimes it can destroy you if you are not cautious. So now what I'm doing here is I'm trying to take down this solar wizard. This solar wizard is super annoying, so always best to take him down with your scout rifle. And I'll be dealing with the unstoppable champion. So the only good thing I like about this sidearm is it can do decent amount of damage on the unstoppable champion. I would say low decent since I'm using 4 tracers, so that's the only good thing I like about this sidearm. That's about it, by the way. Yeah, I know, there's really not much I can say about this Cryosthesia sidearm. Only thing I like is it can stagger the unstoppable champion and the Shattering Blast perks really fast than the Devil's Ruin. Like it does. It's more reliable of the Shattering Blast compared to Devil's Ruin, but that's about it. And I can't really use the Cryosthesia from this range because the range for the sidearm is very bad. Even at this distance, I can't really shoot far away with this sidearm. Not so much. You saw there I was switching my sidearm because I was debating to use the sidearm at the nights. But then I realized that the range is really poop, especially on console, so I said, nah, I'm just gonna go for the arc machine gun and the sky rifle to deal with the arc knights. Now over here, there is a barrier champion, and you can take him down by just using the sky rifle. So yeah, the power of Four Tracer and Charge of Light. This is amazing. And also, I kind of got sick of using 6 Coyote, to be honest. I just wanted to use a different exotic for this week as well. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love 6 Coyote, but it gets kind of old for a while, especially when using GMs. You know, mainly you would use 6 Coyote or Stompies, you know, etc, etc. Alright, so there are 2 barrier champions. You can go up here to deal with the barrier champion. Now, Shattering Blast is doing a lot of damage. Actually, Shattering Blast is doing more damage than the stasis sidearm, which is pretty hilarious. Like, how can this Shattering Blast do more damage than this sidearm? That I'm using an exotic sidearm by the way. I mean, it's pretty baffling, pretty hilarious. Pretty hilarious that the Shattering Blast does more damage than the sidearm. And yeah, you can see here I was messing around with the sidearm. I was trying to see if I can do some damage with the sidearm, but it wasn't working out. The reload is so bad, guys. You need the sidearm reload. But then again, you will have to go for, of course, voice subclass and use the melee to deal with the unstoppable champions. But to be honest, is it really worth to try to melee the unstoppable ogre, especially at the boss fight? Don't really think it's worth it, so I would just prefer to have a grenade launcher, to be honest, to deal with the unstoppable champions. So now we're actually going to be at the boss fight. Yes, this is the boss fight. And let me just tell you, this boss is very tanky, and you must use a strong subclass. Highly recommend. I don't recommend you use stasis for, especially stasis warlock, hunter. It won't do enough damage unless you have a very strong heavy, then you can. But to be honest, I would just go for a stronger subclass like Night Stalker, and of course the golden gun. Now I have tested out the golden gun. I actually switched my loadout. I was golden gun, but then I decided to switch because I was missing my headshots 2 times at the boss fight. And when you do the headshot for the golden gun, it's 200k. But for some reason, the Night Stalker does more damage, more than 200k for some odd reason, which the golden gun's supposed to do more damage than the Night Stalker, but hey, you know, it's Bungie. So yeah, it's pretty hilarious, isn't it? So as you can see here, this boss is very tanky and it loves to hide. It loves to hide when you break the shield. And it will shoot this smoke or it will spam arc. And this boss likes to float around, as you can see here. And he is very annoying. So using double primary weapons, including the sidearm with the arc machine gun, yeah, this is gonna take a little while. That's why I highly recommend to use a strong super like Nova Bomb, Chaos Reach, but with Geomags, Night Stalker, Golden Gun if you can headshot the wizard, etc. This normally doesn't happen, but I was so happy. So this boss decided to give me a little break And I can finally use this Cryosthesia to do some little headshots at the boss. Like, isn't that funny? I think the boss felt so pity for me that it wanted me to show off a little bit of the Cryosthesia sidearm. And you can see the damage. Did you saw the damage there? It isn't really good. Now I am using the high energy fire, by the way, and it didn't really do that much damage to the sidearm. Like, Thorn can do more damage than this exotic sidearm. Like, seriously. Other primary weapons can do better than this sidearm. The Devil's Ruin can do better than this exotic sidearm. Can someone comment below of why this sidearm is better than Devil's Ruin? Because I will disagree right now, because the Devil's Ruin can do decent amount of damage at the boss fight. Especially when using high energy fire. With a strong, of course, super. So yeah, this is gonna take a while, and let's see. So this boss is tanky, and he will teleport eventually. And once he teleports, you'll be dealing with a couple of Arknights. Now there'll be 2 Arknights I'll be entering from that portal, so be aware and be super cautious, because these knights can melee you. Not only that, but you have a couple of knights from the back of the room, and they can shoot arc from far away. So this area where I am isn't so safe so much, especially for GM. You have to be super careful. There are acolytes that can throw fire at you, so you have to be super cautious, because you can throw pretty far away and pretty accurate for some odd reason. Basically almost like Sapphir's Song, where these acolytes can throw precise fire towards you, and they can do the same thing in Disgrace. And you're probably wondering why I'm not using my sidearm at this part. It's because, well, the sidearm, the range is poor. Even though it says the range is amazing, but the range just doesn't really work. Especially with the aim assist on console, you're gonna have a hard time. So, because there was so much arc, I had to use a machine gun, and I didn't want to use my super. I had to use my super for the boss fight. That's why I have 100 intellect, or at least tier 9, so that way I can have my super at every time I'm at the boss fight. And the boss is just so tanky, it's ridiculous. So as you can see here, there are 2 knights, 2 arc knights, and I was trying to see if I could use the sidearm, but then the range, I keep forgetting about the range is awful, so I have to switch back to my arc machine gun. Another thing I like about the sidearm Cryosthesia is I wish it could activate the freezing charge up with rapid hit. That would be amazing for the catalyst, where you can get reserves, yeah, but then when you do rapid hit, precision hits, headshots, etc., then it can activate the stasis charge up. That would be really nice, but no, they didn't do that. They just put reserves, refills when shattering frozen targets. And it forces you to be stasis subclass for it to be efficient. Now I had decided to use my super and be very careful, because this boss loves to dodge everything. And I mean a lot. So I did enough damage, I decided to go back and just clear down a couple of ads. So there are cursed thralls and thralls where I highly recommend to take them down. I was trying to use a sidearm, but then it wasn't working out too well. I was being a little reckless. So be super careful when dealing with these guys. And I was kind of messing up my jump a bit. So yeah, I was not careful at that part. Now this is the fun part. Since I don't have my super, I have to break the shield and then just switch to my sidearm, or Cryosthesia. So you can see the damage isn't really so great, even with Charge of Light. And just remember guys, I'm using 4 tracers, so the lower the health of the boss, the more % damage I'm gonna get. Especially using this helmet. Now I decided to back away because more ads are spawning. I heard some noise footsteps. So always throw nades, be super careful with them. They can sneak up on you. It's chaff, so basically there's no radar to see where they are. And they're very, very sneaky at this boss fight. Well, at this Nightfall. So once again, I was trying to show off this weapon. You know, I was really trying to show it off, especially at the boss fight. You know, it's doing 3k damage, even with high energy fire. You know, it's getting there. But you have to be very careful because he can shoot so much arc. Now, this is the fun part. So, we'll be dealing with an unstoppable champion. And you have to be super careful because there are acolytes that can shoot you from that window and decide to turn invisible. And decided to throw my nade. Try to take down this unstoppable champion. Use the sidearm. And then just spam invisibility. Might as well since we're on Night Stalker Hunter. My mobility is not high, but it still doesn't really matter too much for this Nightfall, to be honest. So now we're going to be dealing with the last unstoppable champion. So now this ogre, the non-champion ogre, was kinda in my way. I was trying to see if I can use the stasis sidearm from long range, but it wasn't working out, to be honest, so I just tried again. Kinda worked. For some odd reason, it's Sunderling Blast, the champion, even though it didn't stagger. So that was kind of weird, but alright, you know, that's Bungie, right? So I was trying again, I was trying to use this sidearm, and you can see that this sidearm is ridiculous. Like, look at that. Are you kidding me? Like, I am trying to shoot from far away, and they said the range is pretty high for this sidearm. I don't really see it in this video. I don't really see it at all in this run. And I ran out of sidearm. Wonderful. The most annoying exotic, and I ran out of ammo. Fantastic. Seriously guys, this sidearm is just baffling. Alright. We have our super, so I'm going to be using my super very soon. I'm just being a little bit cautious here. Try to find a good angle, and hopefully he'll shoot a smoke, but she didn't. So I decided to use my super, and I did stand still a bit because I want to make sure I do as much DPS as I can. So waves of ads will spawn depending how much DPS you are doing towards the boss. And you must be very, very cautious. Especially with the boss where he can shoot far away, or she can shoot far away from the back of the room. Alright, so I'm gonna break the shield. And once again, I'm gonna be using the sidearm. And yeah, you're probably wondering what's the void empowerment. That's for the solstice. I don't really want to use it for this video too much since it's going to disappear next week. So that's why I haven't really talked too much of the void empowerment at all. So yeah, this is the Cryosthesia sidearm. I'm trying to shoot, and because I was trying to shoot, you know, the boss with the Cryosthesia, I got distracted and I had to go back. You see that? This sidearm is so bad that I was trying to focus using it, and then waves of ads spawn. I didn't hear the footsteps because I was just too focused trying to do precision headshots at the boss with the sidearm, and it wasn't working out, even though I was trying my best to do some DPS damage, but it just wasn't working out at all. So always be aware of your surroundings, especially dealing with this boss. And you know what? Highly recommend you use Will of the Horde or Anarchy or any other strong DPS weapons, because honestly, this boss is very tanky and this sidearm doesn't do the efficient damage, especially when this sidearm is an exotic. And like I said before, I'm gonna say it again, using stasis subclass for this boss fight is not effective. It's not that strong. For some reason this boss doesn't really do a lot of damage for stasis. Now I have tried it last month with Warlock. I spammed my super like 10 times at the final boss, and it did very tiny damage, like very poor damage, the stasis Warlock. So yeah, highly recommend to use strong super. And you can see I got distracted again. Why did I get distracted? Because I was using the Cryosthesia sidearm. I was trying to use the stasis, you know, trying to show you the weapon, but I got distracted and I had to pull back. So yeah, this sidearm is horrendous, honestly. I was trying to use it, got distracted, and then guess what happened? I didn't hear the waves of ads spawn because I was not paying attention. And I almost had a wipe because of this sidearm. Now I have my super again, and I'm gonna try again to use my super because this boss is so tanky, it's ridiculous. And I kind of missed a bit because it kept moving around and my hunter was kind of floating around as well. So it was kind of my fault for that. I should have just not move, well, stand still a bit and then use my super, because if you do move and use your super, then your character starts floating and moving around. And I keep forgetting, for hunter you have to stand still if you want the hunter to not move. So once again, we're gonna go back to the DPS where I'm going to break the shield to get a charge of light. And of course switch to the Cryosthesia. Now I was just trying to look for my surroundings, make sure there are no ads. And everything seems to be going okay. So yeah, this is hilarious, this sidearm, man. So yeah, isn't this sidearm amazing? And like I said, even with the catalyst, it wouldn't really do anything. Not so much with the catalyst. Yeah, you can go for stasis and freeze the enemy, and you could have your magazine refilled, but it really wouldn't really be so useful. I would prefer a different exotic than the Cryosthesia sidearm. Honestly, I would prefer the Devil's Lair or the Devil's Ruin than this weapon. Like if I had to choose life and death between using Cryosthesia or Devil's Ruin, I would choose the Devil's Ruin or any other exotic. Any exotic, a shotgun, anything, than this weapon. I'll even use that stasis grenade launcher over this. At least I can put something in the kinetic weapon, you know. So yeah, I honestly despise this sidearm right now. Right now I can see the frustration in this video of trying to use it, and I am not liking it at all. And if this weapon is very efficient with stasis, then that could be really bad too, because there are players who don't really like stasis subclass. This sidearm wouldn't be playable at all, especially for players who don't like to use stasis subclass, where this is forcing you to use stasis subclass, especially when having the catalyst, you know, and you have to use stasis to make it more efficient, the Cryosthesia sidearm. Now you can see here that because I did amount of DPS of the boss, many waves of ads will spawn. Now there will be a second, well, the last wave of ads when the boss has tiny health. So be aware, when the boss starts to have tiny health, it will be the last wave of ads, and they'll be tricked, by the way, of trying to melt them really, really fast, because you'll have to deal with the last waves of ads. I accidentally died from the last waves of ads because I wasn't paying attention, and I forgot that they have, like, the boss has the last waves of ads, a lot of Arknight, etc., that you need to take them down as much as you can. So the final boss was almost dead, and I was trying to debate, should I use my super or should I wait? Because I was trying to see if I can find a good spot to use my super, and I try to remember in this video if I used my super at this part or did I wait. And because the boss is nearly low on health, the 4 tracer is starting to perk up, so I'm going to be doing more damage with any weapons, with my grenades, super, etc. So that's another reason why I'm using 4 tracer, because I just wanted to get this run done, especially with a poor exotic that I'm using. It just wasn't working out. So now I'm going to be using, once again, my super, and I was missing my shots, so I was kind of disappointed in myself because I forgot to stand still and then use my super. So my fault about that. So because I did kind of mess up, now I have to use my heavy a bit, throw my nade, and yeah, 4 tracer is actually helping me. And the boss was not happy. I can tell that the boss was really pissed off that I was using the 4 tracer exotic, but hey, I have to. I mean, seriously, boss, your health is too tanky. It reminds me of Festering Core. Yeah, do you guys remember Festering Core? Very tanky boss. Like, Jesus Christ, I actually miss Festering Core. Like, they only had the Festering Core only for 1 season, and then that's it. Like, done. Like, for the champions introduced, you know? I really miss that Nightfall because it was so new, and I had, like, ideas I wanted to use for loadouts, but then it disappeared, you know, etc, etc. Now this is the last waves of ads, and highly recommend to take down the knights as much as you can. And there'll be cursed thralls all over. You can use the Warmind cell if you see it and destroy it as much as you can. So as you can see here, this run is slow, and that is why I'm using a strong super, high energy fire, and a Warmind cell build to clear down ads much quicker, because stasis exotic is not working out, and getting the catalyst for the Cryosthesia sidearm is a big pain, especially if you don't really like PvP. You're gonna spend 5 hours or maybe more. It all depends how good you are in PvP. If you're not really good, you're gonna spend 5 hours. And I was hoping there'll be momentum mode for PvP, but I don't think they'll have it for this season. I don't remember. I don't really play PvP so much. Only to do bounties and that's it. And one thing I don't like about the Catalyst is it should have more options. It should have options for PvE and of course for Gambit. I don't really like Gambit, but I would prefer to get Guardian kills on Gambit than Control on PvP, where everyone is using a sniper, etc. and everyone knows you're trying to use the sidearm, right? So you're gonna have a really hard time trying to get the Catalyst. As you can see here, I am trying to do as much DPS as I can with the scout rifle, with the arc machine gun. Then I was like, okay, let me try to use the sidearm again. And you can see that I am trying to use the sidearm. And like I said, I'm using 4 tracer, high energy fire, and it still does really bad damage, this sidearm. So now I'm just trying to use my sidearm, you know, just try to, you know, put some effort of killing the boss with the sidearm, with the Cryosthesia. So we finally beat the boss. The run was a bit slow. I do apologize, but you know, this sidearm is not strong. Now, would I recommend using this weapon for Nightfalls? No. Devil's Ruin is better than this weapon. Even with the Catalyst, I still don't think it will be really good. And it is possible for a GM, to be honest, but honestly, I wouldn't bother myself doing it because it will be a huge nightmare. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.